There's that scene in every superhero movie, you've all seen it, I'm sure, that scene where chaos has broken out. It seems as though the villain has won. There is buildings are falling down, there's fire, there is screaming, and in the midst of it all there is that one damsel in distress standing there with no hope, certain that she's not going to make it to the end of the movie, giving up hope knowing that she's going to die, when all of a sudden out of nowhere this masked hero comes flying in or swooping down on his spider web, whatever, and picks her up and lifts her off to safety. You've all seen that scene of a superhero movie. I can't help but think of that classic scene when I hear this description of the ascension of Jesus into heaven that's recounted to us both in the Gospel of Luke and in the Acts of the Apostles. Jesus, the hero, is lifted up into the clouds, and you can almost see the face on the disciples as they stand there and they look up, thinking, I think you're supposed to take us with you. Haven't you forgotten something? Isn't this the time that you're going to save us from the persecution? The Acts of the Apostles says it a little bit differently. Lord, are you now going to restore the kingdom to Israel? It's the same question, though. Why have you forgotten us? Why have you abandoned us? But we know that God certainly has not forgotten, that Jesus has not abandoned his disciples. Because we know that when Jesus came in the beginning, when Jesus took on flesh and took on our humanity, that he bound us to him. He grafted us onto himself, so that no matter how often we sin, no matter how much we try to pull back from him, we are grafted onto the body of Christ. So that when Jesus ascends to the Father in heaven, that there is this tension that is created between us. It's not a bad tension, not the kind of tension, in families when one side is bickering against the other, but it's a good kind of tension. It's the kind of tension like a rubber band when you pull it apart, and the farther you pull it apart, the more it wants to pull back together. This is the ascension. Jesus rises to the Father in heaven, and he pulls our humanity with it. He makes us want to shoot up to the Father in heaven, to be with him forever. It's not a sense of abandonment. Jesus didn't come to spare us the drama of life, certainly, but he also didn't come to abandon us and leave us to our own devices. He ascends to the Father to lift up our human nature, to take this wounded heart that is within us and pull it back to the Father who made it to begin with. And we can see this tension working in the lives of the apostles. So they move from standing there staring up into the sky to being filled with great joy. Almost immediately they are filled with this joy after the assurance of these two men dressed in white, and they're sent off to proclaim the good news. This tension, this desire to be with Christ, this desire to be with him and to be united with the Father in heaven motivates everything that they do. So they start to minister to people. They start to care for the needs of the poor. They start to spread the good news of the gospel, because when they do it, they draw near to Christ. They recognize that he is alongside them, working with them, assuring him of his presence, and allowing them to do the kinds of things that they are doing. And it is so incredible. It is so incredible, the life of the early church in this period, because we can see this desire of the apostles just explode. Their desire to spread the good news of what has happened and to live in this tension between them and the Father in heaven. And there is this pivotal moment in the life of the early church. It's the moment between the death of the apostles and those who would continue the mission after them. And what is so beautiful about this moment is that tension towards God doesn't go away. It continues, which is, to be honest, one of the most miraculous parts of the early church, that those who didn't even know Christ, those who had never met him because of the proclamation of the gospel by the apostles, felt this tension grow within them. And it's happened generation after generation, and we see it most clearly in the lives of the saints. You know, just yesterday we celebrated the life of St. Damien of Molokai. St. Damien was sent to he volunteered to go to the leper colony in Molokai in Hawaii to minister to the needs of the lepers, this terrible disease, these people who had been cast out. And he went to minister to their needs. There is this tension for him. He wanted to see if he could see the presence of Christ even in this place of horror, even in this terrible place. We see it in the life of St. Maximilian Kolbe, who offered his life in exchange for another prisoner in the concentration camp at Auschwitz. This tension, this desire for him to be united with Christ, to be united in the same way that Christ offered himself for us. We see it in the life of St. Elizabeth of Hungary, who had such great wealth but poured everything out for the needs of the poor, for those who were sick, and she brought them into her house and she cared for them. There is this tension. There's no other way to describe it. There's no other reason for it. This tension that exists because they desire to be with Christ, to see his face in the midst of the poor, in the midst of the most needy. These saints felt this tremendous longing to bring together heaven and earth. They wanted so much to be with God in heaven that they were willing to look in any circumstance here on earth to recognize that he was with them. And the good news is that it is possible for us as well. This same tension is built into our nature. We are naturally drawn to God. We have this desire to make something more out of our lives. But it doesn't have to be dramatic. You know, I think in so many ways parents are the most heroic of people. You know, changing diapers, doing laundry, fixing supper, caring for the house, working overtime for your family. All of these ways are ways that we can express this desire to lift up our family, this desire to point our family to something greater. In the simple things of life, we can draw our family into deeper union with God. It's the simple things. And yet this simple tension that is within us, that draws us to the Father, if we forget it, if we try to ignore it, if we try to fill it on our own or dismiss it somehow, then we are missing one of the most fundamental aspects of Christianity. If we can't understand that this tension is made for God, made for us to be united with God, then we can't honestly understand anything that our Christian faith offers us. It's so important, in fact, that it's in the very beginning of the catechism. You never know where you're going to find a catechism these days. The first paragraph, I'm not going to read the whole thing, the first paragraph of the catechism. At every time and in every place, God draws close to man. He calls man to seek him, to know him, to love him with all his strength. This is not the back of the catechism. This is not an addendum at the end. It is the first thing. Paragraph 1, sentence 2 and 3. This is fundamental to our faith. God has made us with this longing for him, with this tension for him. And Jesus highlights it for us in his ascension. He lifts up our humanity to the Father. He calls us to lift up all of our lives to him. The invitation is given to us to follow this tension of the ascension, to respond to it, first by our own personal conversion, first by preparing our own hearts for union with God. And then secondly, by bringing as many people with us as we can. drawing our family and friends, the needy, all those, our brothers and sisters who need to know that God has not abandoned us, but that He is with us in each moment. Let's pray that today as we celebrate this feast of the Ascension, that we might feel within us this tremendous desire to be united with our Father in heaven, who calls us back to Himself.